Hey, how's everybody doing? Bear with me. If I'm coughing too much, I'll have to end the stream. But uh, here's the thing. Just want to give a quick shout out to the call to action we're doing. And I don't know, maybe some of you saw this and maybe it helped. Hopefully, there's an army of us out there. I seriously doubt if I have that much pull, but if any of you did, I appreciate it. Uh, the way they're talking today, it sounds like Senator Chuck Schumer is going to bring the his amendment up for a vote. We still need word on Christian Gillibrand, but the two call to actions I got, and if you want me to go into more detail in either one, just keep checking it because I about once a week, or you can go check out the videos on YouTube. About once a week, I do a deep dive on it. But the first thing is write everybody you vote for at every level, local, county, state, and federal, and ask them to legalize assisted suicide with and the only thing I'm going to do is give you the Cliff Notes version. I watched my mom die in hospice, and I've got health issues, and I don't know if it's going to be next month or, a couple years down the road or a couple decades down the road. But unless somebody finds a magical cure or some fucking ET comes down and cures me, I don't want to go through what she did. I literally had to watch her starve to death. The hospice people were great. I am not trying to bash them, but it just wasn't fun. Having to get her on the little stool, having to wipe her butt, change her diapers. That was horrible. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but that was horrible. But I got to be honest with you. Watching her waste away and basically starve to death, and then the last few days she really wasn't doing much in the way of water and that. That was fucking horrible. And oh shit, they had a thing. Just I'm not going to go into a deep dive. Just call and ask. I seriously consider it, please. Um, the world we live in, just that we watch kids get killed regularly. We don't want to pass gun laws. We can do this. If we can watch kids get murdered and nobody seems to give a shit, we can clearly do something for people that are sick, like me, and people that are dying. I firmly believe that. The second call to action, and again, I think maybe you guys, and maybe there's an army of us out there, not from me, but in the community. It sounds like they are going to bring Chuck Schumer's amendment up for a vote. And we still need to work on Senator Gillibrand's. Hers, I think, would go through the intelligence office. Uh, Senator Schumer's, and again, I don't know, it might even be a good one. I don't know. Uh, according to someone I trust, it is going to be a good one. He has a lot of hope in it. Ross Coulthart, he is a world-renowned journalist. I believe he's out of Australia, but he's worked with American news companies. He worked with, I think it was 60 Minutes Australia. So as far as I'm concerned, he's got really good credentials, but he thinks it's going to be a good committee or a good amendment. So let's get that done. And I mean, at least it's something. Because according to Ross, his connections in Congress is that if it doesn't happen this year, it might be years before it's brought up. So I really think we need to get some moving on that. Well, but yeah, that's the one news is the fact that they are bringing that up for a vote. So that's good. That's good, good, good. And then I think it looked familiar, and parts of it I actually remembered. It was on History Channel today. My brother was watching it, and then when I realized it was on, I was gonna watch it, and I swear to God, the first thing I saw said that it was part two of two. and it was, so it was mostly over. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna look for it. Well, I looked for it where I could watch it for free online, and Roku. And I'm not trying to mean they let me down, but they didn't have any free options for me on Roku. And so I checked on YouTube. Well, the History Channel on YouTube, they did have it, so I started watching it. And then when we were eating lunch, I watched it out there. So it was good. It was all good. And what happened was, I, in light of some recent stuff that I had seen, I was thinking, and I'm like, well, I'll just do that on a podcast, and I want to do it today while it's still fresh, and I'm gonna try and hit everything I was thinking of. I'm gonna do my best. I got hiccups, and but here's the thing. I'm gonna give you a brief overview of. I'm going to give you a brief overview of it. The Knights Templar were a group of religious knights. I believe they answered directly to the Pope. And the claim is they patrolled a section of road during the Crusades and protected travelers. That, I believe, is the official story. I'm just going to do like an outline here, and then I'll go back and try and go through specifics. And then at a certain point, they came back to Europe, and I don't want to get this wrong. I think they existed in more than one country, but I know they're connected to like France. And but they came back, and they came back and they set up shop in various European countries. And again, they were sort of under the protection of the Pope. And I don't know if that was from the beginning or after they came back. And then this is one of the, like everything I'm telling you before, I'm pretty sure that's accurate. This is all the broad strokes. Now we're getting into the part where I'm going to tell you, either don't trust me, look it up, get the facts, or it's going to be like a trust and verify situation. Okay? And what you got to do is you got to... I want to say it was 1307, but I am not 100% sure. What happened is they were basically accused of some pretty horrible shit. I don't want to give you wrong, so they were accused of like basically being against the church or being for the devil or some shit like that. And my understanding of it, and this part I think is true. There was a secret order that came down to basically exterminate the Knights Templar. Basically just end them. And, it wasn't a thing like the Romans used to do called decimation where, they were just going to wipe out most of them. They wanted them gone. That, if you've ever heard that Friday the 13th is bad luck, the Knights Templar are the reason why that is considered bad luck. It was a Friday the 13th when they were wiped out. And that, I'm pretty sure of the factual basis on that. There might be other stuff older than that, but my understanding is that is what we recognize today as why Friday the 13th is bad luck. Because that is when they were wiped out. And where this documentary came in, and there's been others, and it's a very good documentary. Very, very good. Okay, hang on a sec. Well, what happened is there is speculation that they may not have been wiped out as we were led to believe. That is the popular belief. And I think there is at least some, everything I'm going to tell you, I can't tell you that it's true, but I can tell you it at least seems possible. But there is all these conspiracy theories, and maybe more than one of them are true. Maybe none of them are true. Maybe I doubt if all of them would be true. But and I just want to give you the backstory. I don't want to spend a lot. I want to kind of tell you the linkage that I was getting when I was watching it. I don't know what time it is. It ain't even 3 o'clock, and both cats seem to have been hungry today because they ate their breakfast very good and they ate their lunch very good. Well, and she does this all the time. The minute her dish is empty, she acts like it's the end of the world. And when I do supper, I think I am going to ditch their dry food because I got them some, and I'm not usually the one who picks this shit up. And I'm not blaming anybody, but I even asked because I didn't want to be the one responsible for it. But they're not eating their dry food. They're getting plenty of wet, but I think he's eating more of his food because he doesn't like the dry food. So I might have to just shit can that and then see if we can get him some. I really can't afford to be doing this, but I love the cats. I want to take care of the cats, so we'll see what we can do. And well, anyways, there's all this speculation on if they survived, and like my favorite conspiracy theory is that she's back again. Patches, I'm streaming, and I kind of want to do this one. You're welcome to come up and sit with me, but you gotta be a good girl. Yeah, you got to be a good girl. You just lay down, be a good girl. You got to go bother somebody else. Yeah. She, you can see it. I told her she had to behave or she had to go away. She decided to go away. Apparently she didn't want to behave today. And, well, anyways, I'm going to go unload some of this in a chest somewhere. Oh, shit. I can unload some of it right here. Well, anyways, there's speculation, and my favorite one is that the Knights Templar basically took over Switzerland. And I don't want to do a deep dive on that, but the reason is they said that, right around, like before the Templars disappeared, Switzerland was kind of an agrarian country, not very impressive militarily. And then sometime after the Templars disappeared, vanished, some thought wiped out, they became a pretty fearsome military. They were never defeated again. They became very, very good at banking. And the reason why that's important is the Templars were, and really you can say what you want, but they were a lot like Blackwater. They were, allegedly fairly skilled military, and they had a lot to do in shaping politics. And you take a look at Blackwater, and this is another thing, we really need to get, especially when you look at like that Wagner group or whatever it is over in Russia, They need to take steps to get rid of these military contractors. They need to put like 100% anything that involves force. Like if they want to hire radio technicians and shit like that, but they hired these guys and they're the rich guy in charge of Blackwater, and some of the other ones might be more decent, but Blackwater, that guy was so involved in politics, and it's like, hey, look, if you want to be involved in politics, run for office. But if you wanna basically do what you're doing from the shadows like you were, and that should not be allowed. So these military contractors, they should get rid of them all, and those jobs should be given back to the military. I'm sorry. We don't need them. They are not good for our country. And well, anyways, they became very good at banking. And one of the things about the Templars, there was a time period where charging or paying charging interest or something like that was illegal. Banks could not do that. So, banks could not loan you money and charge interest. So banks really didn't want to pay you anything, you know. Well, the Templars got around that because what they did was they would take your money. They would hold it for you. They would secure it for you like a bank. And like a bank, you could travel anywhere where there were Templar facilities, and they had them all over. And they also were experts at, I'm going to call it encryption, but that might not be the right terminology. But they would basically write you a note, and it could only be read by qualified Templars. Not every Templar, but the ones that dealt with the banking system. And it would tell them how much money they were holding for you. And then what you would do is they would give you what you asked for. They would write you a new note telling you what amount they now were holding for you. And the whole time they were charging, my understanding is they were charging like a rent. So it got around the law, and I believe this was coming down from the Vatican. But it got around the law, and they were actually able to make money in ways that banks couldn't. And they became richer than some monarchs. And there's speculation that that's why the order was given to wipe them out. And now we're going to get into the connection. Okay? And this is completely nuts. I'm just speculating. It was something that came into my head. Don't take it with a grain of salt. Take it as a idea. Maybe give it some thought. Maybe you'll agree with me. Maybe not. And the speculation, and I believe this, but I can't tell you. I would just say that there was at least enough of a situation where you could say that it's at least possible. Okay? What happened was I think they brought this up in the Tom Hanks movie, The Da Vinci Code. And again, I'm not going to act like, oh, well, this was proven, but I think there is at least some circumstantial evidence. So, cat's bugging me. Patches, it's 2:30. Supper time is not until after 4. Yeah, I'm sorry. You got to wait till supper time. I fed you breakfast. I fed you lunch. I think I've given you treats several times today. I'm doing pretty good by you. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good by you. Yeah, I swear I am. And anyways, I want to get through this. This one really cracked me up when I was watching that. It's like, oh my god, I got to do this for a stream. Well, the speculation is, and I don't know if there's enough where you could say, well, definitely they proved it, but there's at least enough evidence to suggest it's possible that the Knights Templar did not do what they were supposed to do. Okay? Uh, there's some evidence to suggest that they were not protecting that road like the claim is made. There's some evidence to suggest, and I can't tell you off the top of my head where. Hang on a second. Use the potty. Yeah, when the stream's over, I'll clean everything. Yeah. Give me a second. I'm gonna spray her litter box. Patches, I will clean it today if I don't forget, but I'm not gonna clean it right now this moment. No. Right now this moment I'm doing something. To be fair, I think she's trying to remind me because today is a day where I would normally clean the litter box, and I think she was like letting me know because when I turned around, she was looking at it. Well, I wanted to make sure she wasn't going to pee on the floor, and I think she wants the litter box cleaned, and because she was sniffing around it, looking at me, and then she started talking to me. Well, I told her I will clean it when I'm done here, but I'm not going to clean it right now this very second. But I don't blame her for bugging me. That I think I just don't want her bugging me every 5 minutes. You know, I'll put her out on the porch if she keeps that shit up. But I don't mind her reminding me. I just don't want to be nagged about it. And so we'll go from there and see what she does. But no, there's some speculation that they did not patrol the roads like they did. The speculation is that they were kind of holed up in a certain area, and I think I might be wrong, but I think if you look up where Solomon's temple was or where they thought it was, I think they were kind of holed up in that area, and the speculation is, or the circumstantial evidence is, that they were digging around where Solomon's temple was. They were looking for Solomon's temple's treasure. And and the reason why I think there's more to it, but again, this is not the main topic I'm trying to cover right now. But at a certain point, and it was by no means finished, they just packed up shop, got in their boats, and made a beeline for the Vatican. And after they did that, they were granted either finally this special status, or they were given more of a special status than what they had ever had. Is my understanding of it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'd like one more. And that is where, and again, we don't know, but this is the speculation that They found something, made a beeline for the Vatican, and were granted this special status. Would you like to visit the porch? Would you like to visit the porch? I will give you a timeout on the porch. You got a water dish and you got litter boxes out there. If you want to sit with me, come sit with me. Yeah, if you want to sit with me, you come sit with me. If you want to be annoying, go away. If you want to be a good girl, you stay here. If you want to be annoying, go bother somebody else. Yeah, you just lay down. Oh, you good girl. I love you so much. But you're not going to nag me. No, you got to stop. Yeah, she don't want to behave. That is a common occurrence with her. She don't want to behave. And that's okay. Well, anyways, the part that cracks me up is, and she does this. This is a common thing for her. She waits until I'm doing something, and I'm supposed to drop whatever. And some days I will, especially if I'm feeling worse than the day than what I am today. I'll usually definitely do it because I'm not feeling good. It's like it ain't hurting me, but it's like I got a good day, and I want to get this done. So I don't really need her BS right now. But what happened was there really isn't a good explanation for why they were given all that special, because they had more authority than some monarchs. So, it makes sense that they were maybe digging around, and that's the speculation. They were digging around where Solomon's temple used to be, and they dug up something. Old church artifacts or whatever. And if this is where I think it ties into the UFO thing, because when you look at the New Testament or Old Testament, and Ancient Aliens has really done a good job talking about this. A buddy of mine told me this years ago, before I think Ancient Aliens existed. There's a lot of technology that's described in the Bible. And like one of them, he was telling me that they basically tell you how to build a crystal radio or something like that in there. And when you look at the Ark of the Covenant, well, first of all, the Bible makes it seem like that's something special, one of a kind. I've heard stories from people that understand ancient Egyptian that the Ark of the Covenant was like something they used. It wasn't, it was basically used by the priests or something like that. But it was not some holy relic or at least not in the same way like the Bible talks about it. And so I don't know. And what happened is, when you look at the Ark of the Covenant, it's basically a superconductor. And I saw a thing on the History Channel where they were talking about it, and they were talking about it not in supernatural terms, but they had learned people talking about it, and they're like, yeah, this is basically a giant superconductor. And they talk about when they talk about it, it has to be handled a certain way, and they said, well, yeah, and then when they go, well, when it's described, if you look at how they were being told to handle it, that is how you would protect somebody from the electrical trauma that they would, because my understanding, this is like a real thing. I can't tell you, so you'd have to look it up, but I can't tell you which university it was. But there was a university that built the Ark of the Covenant, and it generated so much electricity. I think they finally dismantled it because it just wasn't safe to be around. And when they talk about this in the Bible, that's one of the things they talk about, how it was like a certain group of priests. It was a certain group of priests that handled it. Well, again, back then, if you wanted something done right, you'd turn it into like a holy thing. It like, um, certain religions, they didn't want you eating shellfish and they didn't want you eating pork. Well, some people are allergic to shellfish, so they probably had they might not have known what it was, but they knew that sometimes when people ate shellfish, they died or they had a really bad reaction. Same thing with pork. If pork is not cooked properly, you get sick from eating it. Now, they might not have understood what it is, they might not have had a clue, but they recognized what it was. Well, if you got somebody that's starving and you tell them, hey, you can't eat this, you might get sick. They might tell you to go fuck off because they're hungry as shit and they don't care. But if it's from God, if God is the one telling you, that is a way to save lives. Doesn't mean it's a religious thing, but I'm thinking they used a religious thing to get stupid people to do the right thing. Because they probably did not know why that stuff was making everybody sick. So like today, there's a lot of this stuff that is not considered kosher. While if you're not Jewish, we know that, hey, if you prepare it properly, if you take precautions, that's not a problem. It just isn't. So we don't have to live in fear of the Almighty on this because we're taking care of shit. We're getting it done. And so I don't know, but that is some of the stuff that's come out. And then the other thing is there's speculation that maybe, just maybe, there was some radiation around this stuff. And there was speculation that maybe there were certain people that weren't supposed to be around it. Because that there was a certain bloodline, it's speculation, but there was a certain bloodline that was allowed to handle it. But again, it might have just been to keep the electrical dissipation on it. But yeah, that one college, they made one, and I don't think they're going to do it. But I kind of shouted it out to Brandon Fugel of Skinwalker Ranch. I'm like, well, just to see how the ranch would react, maybe you should build an Ark of the Covenant and see if you can actually design something that would be able to absorb the electricity and get free electricity. Because I told him, it sounds like there was one of these universities that built one, and they ended up disabling it because it generated so much electricity that they didn't feel it was safe to be around. Well, maybe you can fix that. And the other thing is you could see how the ranch would react to it, just a speculation. And he didn't like that one. And I don't. He's kind of a religious person, so that just might be a bridge too far for him, or maybe he's actually worried that it might cause a bad reaction at the ranch, and I don't blame him for that. I'm not gonna. I don't know if I'd want to be there while they're doing it, but I just wonder because the ranch drains batteries and shit. Well, what's it gonna do if you've got the Ark of the Covenant there and you're putting out like a 1.21 gigawatts or whatever it does? I'm just making that up, but it just did. That sounded like it was just dangerous, so they needed to knock it off. And But that's where you, because it's like they were digging up this stuff. And again, I don't know, but there's all this talk about these ancient civilizations, whether it be God or the Greek mythology or whatever. Well, how do we know they didn't dig up some of these holy relics or whatever the hell they were? And maybe they're not of earthly design. The Bible didn't seem to think they were. And even if they were, maybe they were something that attracted. Because the thing is, there's some speculation that like Egypt and some of this stuff, like I said, the Ark of the Covenant. There's some that say, oh well, it was from God, it was magical, and it's like, well, no, it sounds like it's Egyptian. Well, the thing with Egypt is there's some speculation that Egypt might have been founded by a group that fled Atlantis when it sunk. And they brought with them their Atlantean technology and what that. So you really don't know. You just don't. And so the Ark might be Atlantean tech or ancient Athenian or Lemurian. You never know. It might be from one of those races. But the other thing that came out when they were talking about it is they looked on a map and they showed you there, it was something that you could not see, I guess, except from elevation. But there were all these Templar cross patterns that they noticed in the terrain or something like that. So the speculation was, did the Templars do that? Because it just didn't seem like it was possible for it to have been an accident, is what they were getting at. And where these symbols were, there were Templar buildings. And again, that was something that didn't appear to be known. And but that was the thing. And then what they did is when they went to them, and this is the part that I really started really like, okay, well, now I got to kind of put on my UFO hat and look at this shit, because they went to some of these buildings and they had an upside pentagram. Now, and and again, I had to look it up. My brother made the comment that it was only occult if it was upside down, which it was. It was upside down. But when I did a quick Google search on it, um, no joke, the that pentagram star, the five-sided star, that has had different meanings by different groups for a while. So in some cases occult, in some cases maybe not. And she's being a little asshole right now because she ain't getting her way. Uh, you be a good girl. Yeah, she wanted me to clean the litter box. She's a little upset right now. Oh, that good girl. Way to go inside the litter box. Yes. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a bunch of these down, get them out of my inventory. Oh, she pooped. She dropped a bomb. She dropped a bomb on me. Dun, dun, dun. Holy shit. I'm gonna get up and spray that. Oof, that's nasty. Usually that's like a new thing. Her business never used to stink quite that bad. Holy shit. But because again, it does appear again. I can't say 100% that it's true, but when you look at what's going on with that, it does look like they found something maybe, and then suddenly they were granted all this special dispensation, and they were basically given rights to things that the monarchs couldn't do, the banking system couldn't do. Uh, they had a lot of authority. And the one speculation is that was what led to their downfall because there was a monarch that owed them so much money and he couldn't pay him back. So he wanted to get rid of them. And but my thing is, what did they have? If that is true, what did they find that granted them so much authority? And according to what the documentary was talking about, like one of those buildings, and this is the one where they had that pentagram. It was part of a window. Like they had a window, and it was the decorative grating for the window. It was a castle, so it wasn't really a house, but like you sometimes see it on houses where they have that one vent or whatever it is at the peak of the house on the side, and they'll put something fancy on it or a stained glass window or something. It was kind of like that, but it was a grating, and they had an upside down pentagon. Well, even having the pentagon, according in some cases, was used by the occult. It was the like the Jews, they would have used the Star of David, which is a six-pointed star. But I do agree that having it upside down, a little creepy. You know, again, for the time we were living in, not now maybe, but at that time, that would have been a little creepy. And oh, give me 1 second. I'm gonna go spray that. That's just nasty. And so you've already got something that may be the occult, and then it had oh, it was like a symbol. It was like a sign of a heart was part of it. And they were saying that in Templar, and again, I don't know, but in Templar lore, that's an indication of the Holy Grail or the Holy Chalice. And and one of the accusations made about them was that they were in league with Baphomet or something along those lines. It was basically not godly. So again, if the story is true, what did they find? And like maybe the church already knew about it and they just didn't want them telling anybody. It might have been a truth that the Vatican covered up. Because here's the thing. Now, they cover this in the Da Vinci Code, and there was literally nothing new about the Da Vinci Code. That was all old news. when Dan Brown wrote that, there's a documentary where they basically talk to it, and they actually go and talk to the guy that wrote the original book. But see, he didn't write it as a novel. The guy in question, he wrote it as like a documentary, like a history, like a thing to teach you, is how he wrote it, how he envisioned it. And okay, we're gonna go ahead and take this out. Oh shit, I got that in my inventory. And so I can't get that out of my head. It's like, what did they find? Because again, you've got at least some occult imagery there, and like when you look at it, there is so much of the Christian faith. And if you don't like this, I'm sorry, but it's true. But there is so much of the Christian faith that they got from elsewhere, like the whole story of the flooding. Now maybe it happened because like some of the stuff I've recently watched, they were talking about how there's this cycle of death, destruction, and rebirth over and over and over again for longer than anybody thinks we've had people on here. There was something where they were talking about Lemuria and Atlantis. It's not supper time. Patches. I'm going to put you out on the porch as a timeout. Now, you got water out there. You got your litter box out there. You will get a timeout. I don't need you bugging me every 5 minutes. And the there was one of them stories where they said Atlantis and Lemuria existed for like 200,000 years in peace. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's like, in light of what's going on now, I think we need to keep an open mind. I really do. And and then, like when they do the Da Vinci Code, that is one of the things Tom Hanks's character. So you don't need to read the book, although I guess the book is very, very good to read. But you don't have to read the book. You can watch the movie, but it's something his character talks about. Like Satan has his pitchfork. And the character in there basically says, is it really Satan or is it Poseidon? The story of Jesus dying and being reborn 3 days later. That comes from, I think, the story of Osiris. He was basically killed, and then his wife, either his wife, daughter, or mother wife, or some shit like that, she put him back together, and 3 days later, he came back to life. And, so this is a thing. The whole story of the flooding goes back to Gilgamesh. Noah in the Bible apparently may have been a character in a Gilgamesh story. And and we just I just got this. Yeah, this was the thing that came out yesterday, and it really freaked me out. They were talking about the Air Force having in one of their back in the 60s is when they wrote it, but they had some kind of a training manual where you they were teaching their cadets that there were something like now I'm adding this in because I think they might now maybe this is what they said, but I think they were talking about two different stories because they talked about the textbook where it 1, 2, 3. Hang on a sec. But they were talking about that textbook, talking about aliens observing us, and then I think in a separate but related thing, they talked about how, well, yeah, it was considered 4 races that were observing us. And then, because I don't think this was in the textbook, that they mentioned like the Norse or the Asgardians or whatever, and they supposedly look like humans. And then the other thing they talked about was a reptilian race. Well, again, I don't know. I'm just speculating. But what if that alien race of reptiles is mentioned in the Bible as the serpent, the evil serpent that gave us knowledge? Because I can't remember. Let me see if I can look it up. I don't know if I can look it up real quick, but I'll try. Give me a second. Got my tablet here. I'll see what I can find real quick. Okay. What I'm typing in is Bible verse on being stupid, and I want to see what it brings up. Okay, now this one here, I might be reading it wrong, but admonished, I think. Okay, admonished, I just want to make sure. Past tense, admonish, warn or reprimand someone firmly. But it's a Ecclesiastes 12:13, and further by these, my son, be admonished of making many books. There is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. This is one, and there's more than one. This is the first one I could find out. But it's one of the ones where I'm talking about where they're basically acting like learning stuff is bad for you. And like, and that's the thing, like the whole thing where the serpent came into the Garden of Eden. All he did, the apple, was knowledge. That I mean, I guess it's not supposed to be taken literally, and that's probably a good thing. But that was the whole thing. He offered them knowledge, and because he was giving them knowledge, they were thrown out of the Garden of Evil or Eden. And we know that there's many things in the Bible that they basically, like, they absorbed Christmas because it was the festival of Saturn, and they did that to get the Saturn worshipers to come over. They just, like, oh, well, the Word of God isn't going to be enough, so let's bring their festival. Uh, the idea of Christmas presents and the Christmas tree, that came from the occult. It was basically something that was just admonished and brought along. I might put a pumpkin farm over here. These were here naturally. And, but what did they, because again, they were accused of this stuff, but then when you look at the buildings, they had occult symbology. What did they uncover? And there was a thing they were talking about where they, I think Saladin or something like that, sieged their castle or their stronghold, and they were talking about how they had to get the powerful Christian artifacts. Well, if they were so powerful, why didn't they fucking just lay waste to Saladin? Either they were no longer powerful or they never were. But what was it about them that seemed to make the Vatican give them all this authority? They should have been servants. They should have been happy to do what they were told. But they were given an area of prestige. So again, what did they find? And it sounds like, the money never was recovered. So either they got everything out of there, or they were at least allowed to get their important stuff out of there. But the money was never turned over. So the French guy that orchestrated their assassination may have kept it. They may have smuggled it away. The way they talked, they were really good at moving stuff, protecting stuff. And so we just won't know. We really don't know. But but that whole thing of what did they find? What was going on? We may never know, but did they uncover? And the thing that gets me about this, and I almost forgot to do this, I'm like, I know there's more I was going to talk about. When you look, Theory of Everything, he's a YouTube channel, he's a podcaster. If you are interested in the UFO topic, go to his channel and cherry pick some of the interviews he's done. Because there's two interviews he did with Lou Diamond, or Lou Elizondo. And he did one with, I don't really want to say anything too bad about that because I honestly don't know. But he is a guy that he's got a thing where he will sell you an app. You pay him so much. I don't know if you buy it one time or if you have to give a monthly thing. But apparently this app will produce UFOs, and I've heard stories that he may have done one of these events, and while people were there waiting to see E.T. fly by in a spaceship, it sounded like he may have hired somebody to fly a plane and shoot flares out of the plane. I don't know. But he interviewed that guy, and that guy really came off as an arrogant prick. And I gotta be honest with and again, you go watch it. It's I think Dr. Greer might be the guy's name. You go watch it. Maybe you'll think the guy's legitimate. I don't know, but hang on. But he came on and he was real arrogant. Like, you watch Joe Rogan, if he's got people on and he asked them for something. Uh, Corbell, the reporter from Las Vegas, Knapp. If they ask him for something, George Knapp, he opens up his briefcase and he's like going through it and he's trying to dig it out. And same thing with Corbell. They're like, oh well, I can send it to you, or I can send it to you later. And I've seen this where they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll get that later. The need to know guys, they will sit there. Well, yeah, we're gonna get that later. He was given something. We're gonna get that later, and we're gonna edit it into this podcast before we upload it. And that's the way it is. This guy was a real prick, in my opinion, because the guy in question, the theory of everything guy, he's new to this. The main reason why he does is because he finds it fascinating and his fans like it. So it's like a win-win for him to do these, but he really doesn't know that much. About this. He's very knowledgeable in other areas, but he's like new to this, so he asks a lot of questions. And at some point during the interview, and maybe it was Dr. Greer, but I think it was the theory of everything guy, where Dr. Greer, I think, and I might be wrong, but I think Dr. Greer made a comment, well, I can't tell you that now. I can tell you after when we're not on the air. And he basically said, he goes, look, I don't want to know anything that we can't put on the air. He goes, if you can't tell me here, I don't want to hear it, And then the guy, I think, was a little taken back by it. He goes, I want to know anything that can be publicly known, anything you can tell me here, I'm interested in. But if there's some secret thing that you can't tell me until the cameras are off, he goes, you just keep that to yourself, because he goes, I don't want to know it. He goes, I don't want to be responsible for it. If it turns out it's something classified, I don't. He just didn't want to be responsible for it. And I thought it was a very, very mature opinion to have on it. And okay, I think I'm gonna move on. And but Lou Elizondo, he did 2 interviews with him, and one of the interviews, and I think he did sort of the same thing on both interviews. Like one of them, and I think it was kind of the same thing, but he basically got him to expand on it a little bit more the second time. Oh, that's I thought it was wool. He was kind of asked what would happen if people knew what he knew, and like and it might be the same one, and I'm just mixing them up, I don't know. But at one point, he basically said that if people knew what he knew, he said there are a lot of people who are known to the UFO community. He goes, some of those people, they're very well known, they're very popular. He goes, they would have to go and hide, never to show their face again, because they have lied to people to milk the money, or something along those lines. I'm not quoting him word for word. But he basically said that people would have to disappear for the lies they told. And he was dead serious about it. And he said, and there are people in the UFO community that would be owed an apology for the way they were treated. They came forward, they told the truth, and they were ridiculed for it. And, I don't know if he meant the military or the government or non-government entities, could be both. But when he did that, I thought of this Dr. Greer, like, would he be one of the guys that would have to hide himself for the lies he told? And I really don't know. I'm not trying to badmouth the guy. And like right around the time when they started talking about Christian Gillibrand was talking about, well, we need to get to the bottom of this. He did an ad on YouTube, and he literally was saying, oh, we don't need disclosure. I gave you disclosure all this time ago, I think he was pushing his app and all this other stuff. Well, here's the thing, and again, I don't know. I am not, you make up your own mind. I am not trying to, sway anybody or badmouth anybody. But when he was doing that, that reminded me of these old commercials we used to see on TV, and I think we were doing antenna TV. This was not on cable. You got to understand, I'm fairly old. You can go back, and there was a time where cable didn't exist. It was a fairly new thing. And then cable did exist, but like my dad would sign up for it. He'd get it at the discount, and then as soon as they jacked the rates, he'd call and tell them to unhook it. And then we'd go back to having antennas. And then every now and then they'd call him up with a really good deal on it, and he'd sign up for it. And then, he never wanted it if he couldn't get out of it whenever he wanted. But they'd call up, and if they had a good deal on it, he'd take it again. Well, again, as soon as the trial was over and they wanted to jack up the price, we didn't have cable anymore. That was the cycle of our life. And so, and Bob Lazar was one I thought of for the opposite. Is that somebody they're gonna owe an apology to? Some people like him, and but that was like I think the first interview, and then they brought it up again. Something it was a similar type of question, but I think it was maybe worded a little different. And the answer that Lou gave, and recently the Kurt something or other, the Theory of Everything guy, he recently reloaded it as a short. And he said this clip went viral. So I'm uploading it again. But he goes, this thing went viral. And he goes, here's the thing. People wanted to know, like this answer, and I got him to answer it. And he showed the clip, and he was just basically asking if the world knew everything you know, he goes, how do you think they would react? And he thought about it, and I think he said, he goes, you asked me something similar to this the first interview. I think it was the second interview. And he goes, and I've had some time to ponder it, and he goes, if the world knew what I knew, he goes, I think there would be some somber reflection. He goes, I really think there'd be some somber reflection. And he goes, and then there'd be some somber reflection. He goes, I think people be quiet. Maybe they'd want to have a little retreat for like a week or more and kind of think things over. And he goes, but I think they'd get over it. And and again, he can't tell you. And that there was a interview or a little segment I saw from The Hill, and I'm not kidding you. I'm not gonna watch too much more of their shit. There's one that The Hill does. The reporter in question, I think, is a little more reliable, but they got a couple of them. Well, she's one of these ones, and Lou kind of got this when he came out. These people act like they should just tell everything, and that this. I don't want to be mean, but to me it was fucking stupid. But again, I'm finding out that some of the shit that they're doing on the Hill, maybe not everyone, maybe it's just select people, because Kristen Ball or whatever used to be on there, and when she left, I thought, oh, she must have been too fucking far left for him. Well, I never watched it. It was not my news channel. I watched it a little bit when I'd see something with her on it, because I think she's very attractive, and I do like some of the stuff she would opinion on. I did like some of her reporting. I thought she had a pretty interesting take on, even when I thought she was nuts, I thought she had an interesting perspective on stuff, and she was incredibly fucking hot. I'm not going to lie. There was an aesthetic reason, but I don't think she was just another pretty face. I think she had a mind to go with it. But from the shit I'm seeing now, I'm not so sure she didn't leave because she wasn't far left enough for some of these people. It's like, oh my God, they're pushing Cornel West, the fucking lady who thinks you can pray away hurricanes. Yeah, go stand in the way. I tell you what, we'll get the We'll get the fucking hurricane watchers up there in like a C-130 or whatever it is. We'll get them to put you up there. We'll strap your fucking ass into a goddamn parachute, and you fucking engage that prayer mode, and we will throw you into a fucking hurricane. Let's see how that works out. I got a feeling it's not going to work out too good for you. Just got a speculation on that. Um, ooh, we're gonna have to. I fucked up, and when I was trying to, I would come in here and I'd be lightheaded, and I would try to make a jack-o'-lantern. I'd make another fucking stack of torches. So for a while there, I had all these torches in my inventory. I finally got through them all with it because I did it like 2 or 3 times in a row. I'd come in here, I'd get all these pumpkins, and I'd go in to make jack-o'-lanterns, and I make another stack of torches, and I'm like, oh my god. So I had for a while there, I had 2 or 3 stacks of torches. And but they had a thing on there, and they were talking about and this is where I got the news. They were talking about the upcoming vote on that amendment for the UFO thing and some other stuff. And then they said, well, some of this stuff, we got people, they can tell us stuff, but they can't tell us where it comes from. And she was just being a fucking idiot. And she goes, if you feel so strongly about this, then you should just tell us. Confidentiality, classification, be damned. You just tell us. Yeah, and then they'll go to jail. And that is something that Lou has experienced from dumb people like her, where they're like, oh, well, everything, just tell us. They want him to become the next Snowden. No, what Snowden did was wrong. Now, depending on what it is, and this thing I can't tell you because I don't know what he's going to tell us, but depending on what it is, it could be like Reality Winner, where he's going to tell us, he's going to go to jail, and we're honestly going to feel that he was helping us out. Or it could be like Julian Assange or Snowden, where they're going to do stuff that I think most clear-headed adults are going to feel, yeah, they should be in jail. They should be in jail till they die. They should not get out. They should not pass go. They should not collect $200. And that's the thing. It's hard to say knowing what it is, but it could be something where he's going to tell us, and we're going to be like, oh my God, this is something that, we're really glad, he should be considered like a national hero, like Reality Winner. She did what Comey didn't. She let us know that Trump was in bed with Russia. Because that's her story. Like, she kept hearing all these things on the news that, he wasn't involved with Russia. And she's like, every day she's going into work at the NSA or wherever, and she's like, every day I could see classified information that said he was selling us out. So she leaked some of it. And I don't know, but maybe, and again, I don't expect him to do it, but I think it would be really nice if after the next election, whether Biden wins or not, after the next election, where he's either got 4 more years or he lost and he's leaving the White House, I'd really like to see him pardon that Reality Winner and get her out of jail, like day after the election. Get it done. And I think he should, when he does it, he should say, hey, look, unlike Comey, because Mitch McConnell, they took the evidence to him. And they said, hey, we want to let people know that Russia's interfering with our election. Well, I don't think Obama knew at that time, but Russia had funneled like $300 million or $30 million into the GOP through the NRA. And, I think he should, pardon her and say, hey, look, what she did was wrong, but unlike Comey, the Republican director of the FBI, and unlike the leadership in the Republican Party, she did what they didn't. She basically informed us that Russia was working with Donald Trump to steal our elections. She came forward with that. What she did was wrong. She spent her time in jail, but on some level, she's a hero. You go back to Vietnam, I think it was the My Lai massacre, that there is an incident where there's an incident where there was a chopper pilot for a Huey. He ordered his door gunner to open fire on anybody that was involved in that. He wasn't playing. He wanted that shit stopped. And it's time. And again, he could have went to jail. He could have absolutely went to jail for that. But he could have went to jail for that mass murder. Conduct unbecoming. You know what? But I think but again, he knew the rules. He knew what his duty as an officer was, and he put it all on the fucking line. You can say. And you look at some of these Republicans that were in the Justice Department. Now, granted, there's a lot of shit that I think they could have done better, but at a certain point when push came to shove, President Trump told him, hey, I want to put this fucking dingbat in as the Attorney General. I want to fire the guy that's doing it, put him back to where he was, and I want this guy. And the guy said, well, you do that, I'm going to resign. And he had like the second and third leadership of the DOJ, and he looked at the one guy and goes, well, you wouldn't resign, would you? And the other guy said, yeah, I would. And then the first guy said, Mr. President, he goes, if you do this, you're probably going to have a mass exodus at all levels of the DOJ. And he goes, and the story won't be what you want to make up, that there's something going on. The story's going to be that because you fired somebody for no reason, this Clark guy is, ruling over a graveyard at the DOJ. And that basically put Trump in his place where he decided not to do it. And, I think on some level we got to owe them a thanks for it. But again, this is a guy that could have lost his job, could have lost his pension. God knows there were people that did. You take that... God, I can't think of he's like he was Ukrainian nationality. He was born in the U.S., I believe. And him and his twin brother, Vavinik or something like that, he was one of the ones that came and testified against Trump. And he absolutely did the right thing. He got fired. He lost his pension, or didn't get as big a one as he could. He basically, they fired him. They kicked him out of the military for doing the right thing. You take Lou Elizondo. This is a guy who was desperately trying to inform the speaker or the secretary of the defense. And there were people that were blocking him from doing that. Oh, shit. Okay. And so what he ended up doing, he felt it was his only choice. What he did was he resigned. Because he was bringing in people to meet with the secretary, and he was blocked at all avenues. And to be fair, I don't want to badmouth anybody. He honestly believes they were looking out for the secretary. They did not want, because he was like a career general. He was a damn good general. And they figure they did not want him getting tagged with the UFO shit. And, we know he knew as well as a lot of people knew that you get tagged with that, because if he'd have taken it seriously, and I think he suspected that the general would if it was coming from somebody like him, a career military guy with a counterintelligence background. Well, they just didn't want him to throw his career away, you know, jumping on the fucking UFO bus and getting labeled a fucking crazy. And I might redo this later, but for right now, I want this. And I don't know, you know, but he quit. He quit because he knew that that was something that they couldn't block. That they couldn't keep that from the general like the other stuff. When he put in his resignation because of his job, that would get to the general. And he wanted to kind of break through that bullshit. And, you know, but again, he paid a price. Well, he's not willing to go to jail for this. And I just thought that was fucking stupid. And, you know, just yet another fucking nail in the coffin for that place as a legitimate news source. It was just unbelievable when I heard that. Hang on, let me see. Okay, it's 3:30. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead in the stream because she's bugging me, and I think I'm just gonna. Sometimes I give her a hug and I call that a timeout, and I won't let her go because I'm tired of her nagging me. Because I get it, she's hungry, but she's had more than her fair share today. Because I gave her usually I give her like one treat in between meals. Well, in between lunch and now, I gave her like 2 treats in between breakfast and lunch. And I gave her 3 treats in between lunch and now. So she's had plenty. She should not be bugging me. So, I forgot to put, oh God. I cut all this down and I was going to plant the trees before I left. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. But yeah, just the thing that got me going on this was when you look at like the stuff I've recently watched where they're talking that there's this hidden history. Some of it suggests that a lot of it is known by the Vatican. They know. And I don't know. But when I was watching that Templar thing and it fucking hit, it's like, well, what did they have? If the stories are true, if the circumstance evidence is true, what did they dig up? You know, why were they suddenly putting these occult pentagrams up? Along with, because there's also things like there's a Bible story, and this is somebody in the Bible that had a ring where they controlled like Afridi's or something like that. And they said, you know, the stories were that there were things back then that by today's standard would be considered demonic. And they're Bible stories. You know, yeah, they are. They're just, oh my goodness, time out. Yeah. Yeah, you come in and bug me like this, you're going to get some attention. And you don't, well, you're purring a little bit, so you don't mind it too much. No, you don't mind it too much. Yeah, usually she don't like this. Maybe she's showing off for the stream. I don't know, but she's purring a little bit. You probably can't hear it. This is a pretty good mic for just picking up what I'm saying and not everybody else. No. Yeah, you good girl. But yeah, I'll just leave it. But look into this because, you know, again, if they did this, what were they digging up? What did they go to the church with? And, you know, again, and like when you read this stuff, we're like, oh my God, there were these 2 alien races that were having a 200,000 year peace until the Anunnaki came and started a war between them. And then, you know, another thing is they, oh God. Somebody said that King's List, that Sumerian King's List or that Anunnaki King's List, some of those people that are listed on there are like historical figures. And when they talk about how long they were the king, that matches up with, and it's just a couple of them, but they're in history. We know who they're talking about. How long that said they've ruled, that matches up in the Bible or other areas. And they said that when you add all them dates up, that King's List goes back like 240,000 years. Not from today, but from when it was created. So we're talking, it goes back like over 240,000 years from today. And, and just the way the government is doing stuff. I don't know, but I think we need to keep an open mind. And as I get more ideas and as I watch this stuff, I will bring it to you. I was pretty, and it's look, it's the best I can do. I know it's not champagne or anything, but I'm doing the best I can. But this one here kind of hit me today. It really did. Peace out. I'm gonna let everybody go. Have a good day. The weather's been kind of iffy. It didn't rain or anything, but it's going from like looking like it's gonna rain to nice and sunny to looking like it's gonna rain to nice and sunny. Peace out, and I hope everybody has a great day.